I think the greatest of all time might come down to 3, and then I think it just
Yeah.
depends
This
on
one isn't as clear cut number one
right,
as the Bengals.
right,
So
right, and it's and it could be basically your era of falling in love with the Reds, right? And the players there, or do you just hear about the Reds and you're going off lore? So my candidates for the number one is Rose, Bench, Larkin, and Morgan. Those were the 4 that I'm like, that's pretty much the consensus. You could have thrown in Votto in there, but I don't think he's greatest of all time. That might be a number 2 debate, but if I were going with one, and as much as I don't want to, I mean, I think Pete Rose is still synonymous with the Cincinnati Reds, even though he left and won a World Series with Philly, played in Montreal. I think, he's synonymous.
And he's got an all-time record.
Yeah, but he's synonymous with the Big Red Machine, right? I mean, that's Charlie Hustle. He was the leader of that group on the field. So that's my number one. That's my number one. Yeah, and then number 2. I mean, it's between those 3, and then I threw Eric Davis in there and Votto in there as well, and I'm like, man, but I'd probably go with Bench number 2. So Rose and Bench.
Yeah, see, for me, Bench was number 1. I had Bench number 1, mostly just for the fact I think out of all the guys, he's really the only guy that's up for debate for the best at his position. I don't know if Bench is the best catcher of all time, but I think you have to debate it. Whereas Rose doesn't really even have a position. Larkin's not the best shortstop of all time. He's the best Red shortstop of all time, but he's not the best shortstop of all time. Votto's not up there. Davis isn't up there. Nobody else is. Joe Morgan.
He just wasn't around long
Probably
enough.
not. Yeah, he probably not.
Back-to-back MVP years, though. I mean,
yeah. Well, and that's where I would go. I agree with Sam. Bench for me was clear cut number 1 because of exactly what you said. He is, of position wise, he is considered consensus the best catcher of all time. And catcher to me is, if you have a top level catcher, you can't have a better spot in your lineup. So I pick Bench. Now if you go by statistics, WAR, Rose is number 1. Like 78, I think Bench was 2 and Larkin was 3. So
I'm not a WAR guy, so
I think WAR is an important one. I think that of the stats, I go with that one more than of the analytics, because it actually compares your numbers to everybody else, kind of thing. So Morgan was way down because he just didn't play long enough for he didn't have a long enough career. So, but I think if you say who had the best individual season or the a time frame, within just a few seasons, Morgan would be number 1 for me.
I don't know. Foster had 77, 78, man.
Yeah, but over the course, I mean, but not 2 MVPs back to back at 2 World Series. So
no, he had 1.
But 2 World Series, 2 MVPs, you can't beat that. So
he played in 2 World Series. He won 2 World Series with them.
But I'm saying 2 MVPs and 2 World Series.
I know what you're saying, but
right. So I would Morgan over.
Yeah. I mean, I agree there too.
Yeah.
But I'm
so for me it was Bench Larkin just because of the
Larkin. Okay.
Yeah, Bench Larkin for me. Larkin, different era, totally different era. He was the man for all those years with the Reds. I mean, Eric Davis was there and they had some other guys, but they won a World Series. He was, what was he, 16, 17 years. Statistically, he's up in the top 5, both offensively and defensively. So he was my 2.
He's got an MVP, and I think it helps that he's a Cincinnati kid too. He's a Cincinnati guy. I think that can help you in a GOAT debate or secondary GOAT debate. So, I think we're kind of excluding Rose though. So
I mean, there's a lot of guys you can talk about. Like, are you counting Griffey's time in Seattle? Are you counting Frank Robinson?
Frank
Robinson, though, yeah.
Frank Robinson was who actually had 2 behind Pete Rose, winning NL MVP, AL MVP, 500 home run club. I mean, he's historically pretty significant. Pete Rose just seems like a pretty yucky guy. I don't know if I can
Yeah,
throw that in there.
That's
But
why I was like, I was debating whether I wanted to say his name because I'm like, God, he's not my favorite.
You can just go through the Reds' history, and it's tough. I mean, like, Dave Parker had an outstanding career. I mean, people don't remember the Cobra. How many All-Stars did he have for the Reds? Was it like 7 or something?
No, not for the Reds. He wasn't with the Reds that long. No. Yeah.
Oh, was it with the Pirates he had him then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pirates and A's.
But Davis had probably one of the best, 162 game stretch there. I think it was 85, 86 or 86, 87, where, I mean, he would have had 50 some home runs, because I think it was like from July, like from the All-Star break to the following All-Star break, and he had it would have been like 140 some RBIs, 50 some home runs, 40 some stolen bases. I mean, or maybe even more stolen, 80 some stolen. I mean, and he batted like 330, something like that during that time span. But
so you guys are okay with Frank Robinson? I'm not a big baseball guy, but he's not like
Frank Robinson's a good one. Yeah. I think him playing for Baltimore kind of hurts him here a little bit.
Yeah, he just didn't play long enough.
Guys that played longer for Cincinnati, but
but the Reds were the ones who shipped him out, right?
Right.
They wanted
30 years old, and he said he was too old.
And I guess that was maybe what put certain people over the top for me was I just looked at their longevity. So that's why Rose would be in the conversation for me because he did play here forever. But I just put for me it'd be Bench, Larkin, Rose would be my order.
I'm okay with that because, like I said, Rose does hold the all-time hit king, and he did it here in Cincinnati. So
I just kind of put Rose in his own little thing,
just off to the side.
He's off to the side.
He's
like,
in the exclusive club.
We get it.
That's right.
From the Cincy podcast. So until he gets reinstated, okay, I can live with that. So, all right, sorry.
Hey,
Pete,
we get it. Get it. We acknowledge it. But
if you're listening, Pete, once you get reinstated, you'll be back on our list.
Well, he's not listening. We're not paying him, so he's not going to listen.
And he's not getting reinstated either. So
he's probably down at the Hard Rock having a good time.
Yeah, I don't think he cares too much right now. So.
All right,
charging $100 for an autograph ticket.
I guess it comes down to Bench, Larkin, and Frank Robinson, or are we throwing out Frank?
I think you got to throw him out for what you guys said. I mean, for me, as what I just was looking through it, just that 500 home run club, and I viewed it as the career, the ALNL MVP, first person to do it. But if you're talking pure Cincinnati, I think,
that would. I think that's potentially different. I mean, Frank Robinson's up there for looking at their entire career. So
right, and Votto, it's a top 5, I think, but.
Votto's hurt by his teammates. I mean, if he had more talent around for longer.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, he's the best Red of kind of like my generation, right? I mean, I kind of saw Larkin there at the tail end. Don't really remember him too much, but I mean, it's Votto, and there's not really a second. Maybe Cueto.
I was thinking Cueto or Chapman. I mean, their times in Cincinnati were pretty dominant.
Casey. Brandon Phillips had a great career here.
Brandon Phillips.
Yeah, real good.
Brandon Phillips, But I think Phillips would probably be second. He's not in conversation. I mean, Votto's got him beat there. But, I mean, all time, it's probably Barry Larkin. So that would be my number 2 there. Be Barry Larkin.
So we'll go.
Mike Moustakas.
God.
Yeah.
Please go back to Kansas City.
Bench and Larkin. Congratulations, boys.